I hope you can all see what I'm sharing. Very welcome to the webinar from SECURIX and Silverfort together. My name is Patrick Rees. I'm the CTO of SECURIX, and I'm very happy to walk you through this webinar, Vaultless PAM, Protect Privileged Access at Scale with Less Time and Cost. And I think it's a very interesting and important topic because PAM is, or a lot of PAM solutions and projects are very expensive. So we have here a different approach with the Vaultless PAM we will show you today. First, some general information. We have activated the Q&A functionality. So please ask questions during the webinar. We try to involve this into our session or answer the questions at the end of the webinar. Also, this webinar is being recorded, so you will receive a link after the webinar. You can go through it again or maybe share it with your colleagues. So this is just for your information that the session is being recorded and then access on demand after the session. So SECURIX has this year the 30 years anniversary. So we are pretty long on the market, and also in the identity session, we are known as an identity and security specialists. We have solutions around IGA, PAM, and also customer identity and access management. But we are always looking for new technologies, closing the gaps. And I'm very happy to present you today together with Mike, Silverfort, because Silverfort is such a solution which is able to close some gaps we saw in past projects. The first time I met Mike was, he said, oh, okay, it's been a while, but now we are working again together. Mike, you know SECURIX for a while, right?
Yeah, so good morning, everybody. I think we know it since 10 or 12 years, coming from the IGA space, now going to the identity security space. So nice to be here again and to make some nice things together.
Great, thank you. And I think I like this solution because it gives so much opportunities. Also, we have a different area, the area of observability and SIEM. And I think this solution also enables interoperability between these two areas, because identity is also a very big indicator, and in our opinion, the main security parameter also for signals related to SIEM. So all the signals we can get from Silverfort into our SIEM is also a big closing. And we use it for zero trust, just time activation, ITDR solutions, and so on. And of course, as we're talking here, zero trust is known since a long time, but we can see at a lot of customers' places that zero trust is not deployed overall because it takes a lot of time, it's very expensive. And I think also here we can go ahead and make the world a little bit more secure with using such nice to implement technologies. So as part of the Alerti group, SECURIX also see a lot in incident response, and over 80% of the breaches or the incident response cases involves also administrative accounts, because what is the main target? The main target overall is the Active Directory since years, because Active Directory is one of the main crown jewels, and if ransomware attackers get access to Active Directory, they have the pot. So I think Active Directory is one big thing that we need to secure, because we can see Active Directory from super small to very big companies. It's a part which we are not able to remove anymore. Active Directory is, at least from the customers I know, very, very present. And I think it's also here that we have more requirements in securing admin credentials because of the AI EU Act, because of NIS, of other regulatories. And yeah, just having a PAM is or a vault-based PAM is just not enough because it takes so much time. What do you think, Mike? What is the gap you see between Silverfort here and other PAM solutions?
So the problem with the PAM is, and I think we will cover it in a later slide, it was created or built, let's say, 20 years ago, where the environments of the customers were pretty small, and you just had some admins just in AD without any cloud or AI stuff. So the impact wasn't that big. It was easy to do, kind of, but environments are evolving, and also there are more requirements to scale in your organization. And that means not only, let's say, 20 applications and 20 admins, but we're talking about hundreds of applications and hundreds of people. And a PAM wasn't built for that. So it would be unfair to assume that a kind of legacy approach, which is a PAM, can fulfill modern requirements or current requirements. And that's what we are seeing. And I think what also customers are seeing. The feedback we get is that normally maybe 10% of the customers really have an end-to-end PAM project with 100% coverage, and that is nothing. And that's exactly where we are coming with a quick and easy and scalable solution to cover this security approach on a different way.
Yeah, that's very similar to what we see. A classical PAM project is first discovering all the different identities and then making a priority list, what kind of identities needs to be covered in the PAM solution, and then work through them. It takes so much time, and at the end, maybe 5 to 10% of the accounts are covered. Yeah, exactly. And what you said is also that it was built on a legacy or what you said 20 years ago. So built for financial fraud. It's more like a compliance thing, not looking into the active threat landscape, because identity is also very important to discover if an attacker is in your network, because you have lateral movement, you have privilege escalation, you have so much things. And I think just to have it compliant as a paper that you are certified, that's definitely not enough for these days.
Yeah, so I think a PAM got kind of misused to make security. But more or less, as you mentioned, it's a compliance tool, it's a governance tool. It's not so much it wasn't built to be a security tool. And as the identity landscape is getting much more complex, it's just PAM reaches a limit where it costs so much money and so much time, if at all, to make it to finish the project, right? So it's more like as you mentioned, a compliance tool to have it for audits. Okay, here that's the people who have access, and that's the applications, and we have a session recording, we have a video who is clicking, but that's not security. Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah, and if you see here limitation for non-human identities, for example, and also a PAM or a password rotation is in so many projects or architecture decisions, I know, a pain to have this password rotation. So a lot of companies say, please don't make a change here because it needs to run. So these identities are never touched.
Yeah. Because they don't know what will break. So we had customers saying, we just rotate the password and looked what will break. So that's the hard way to do it. because the PAM is missing the real-time visibility part. We will come to that in a later slide, but PAM always has snapshots, and that's not enough anymore nowadays.
Yeah, definitely agree here. Yeah. So how this looks like, usually we start in a project with our customers defining or first doing the discovery. We have some tool, also other Vault-based PAM solutions have discovery tools to discover all the different privileged accounts, and then we go through it. And ideally, hopefully, the project is as big enough to cover most possible accounts. But yeah, as you mentioned before, usually we cover 5 to 10%. Of course, the 5 to 10% are very important accounts, but it's not every account. It's just 5 to 10% of the accounts, because it gets super expensive, especially if we go into a world of service accounts, non-human identities. With AI, it gets faster and faster, all the different accounts we need to use.
Yeah, and the problem, even let's say the 5 to 10% you have onboarded, because with a PAM you have to change your workflow. You have to log into your PAM, check out credentials, log into an application which is available to you. People, so humans like habits, right? And they're working with AD since 20 years the same way. And now you're forcing them to change their behavior just to make that tool work. But it should be the other way around. So the tool should serve the way you work, and not you should change you because of the tool. So what we see is, and also feedback from customers very often, if you are a PAM admin, for example, or if you can check out the password of your PAM, you just copy it and then go around your PAM proxy and log in directly to your PAM, for example. So, and then all your nice expensive features like session recording, they don't work, right? Because you go around that. And so that even these 10%, the question is how many of them are going through the PAM, and the other one who going around it.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I really love this picture. Because at the end, privileged account users are spoiled. They don't want to change the way they work. Of course, no user wants to change the way they work, but especially the privileged user. So maybe they store their admin credentials somewhere else, not in the PAM, and find a way to work different. I mean, in the network area, you can say it's pretty the same than people who makes an SSH bridge to reach some servers directly, but it's super widely used. And of course, you just destroy your security by using stuff like this, or by doing stuff like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also for project leaders, it's so unthankful to run behind the privileged access user to get them onboarded into the PAM. So definitely the first time you showed me Silverfort, I was absolutely agreed that this solution is just not breaking habits and not changing the way people are working. So this is.
And it's also not like not say breaking your infrastructure, but I mean, for a PAM, you have to really restructure your infrastructure. Yeah, you need a lot of microsegmentation. So it's a lot of work, which could break stuff initially, for example. And I mean, everybody who did a microsegmentation project to really make it detailed, it also lasts forever. And so you have your microsegmentation, you have your PAM. It's a lot of change in your infrastructure just because of 5 to 10% people using it, hopefully. And they need to be onboarded. You don't see what you need to protect. People come, or you have to find them and say, okay, maybe it's worth to onboard you. It should be the other way around. It should be that the tool is telling you what is happening and what is your privileged access and where you need to protect your accounts and your applications. So it should be the other way around, and that's why I like that picture. It's not the other way around. You shouldn't chase the people. you should immediately know what to protect. Yeah.
And security and usability shouldn't be a trade every time. So ideally, the people should like the solution or at least not refuse it. Yeah.
Yeah. Acceptance is, as always, if people don't accept it, it won't work.
Mhm. So yeah, today we are talking about a Vaultless PAM solution. So I'm very happy that you can show what's the approach of Silverfort, how you can use it, and what's the difference between the Vaultless PAM and the Vault PAM solution we already all know.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Should I stay here or go next to the next slide?
I think we go next because people are always a little curious. Okay, what are we doing different than let's say normal PAM? So why do we say we can make it faster and quicker and easier? So and the way it works is with us, you don't need to rebuild your infrastructure. Yeah, we are very lightweight solution. That means also people can use their account, their tier 0 account, from their PAW, from their normal client, from proxy, doesn't matter. And with the tools they know. So they can just use a remote PowerShell script with their account. They can use RDP session. They can use whatever tool they are used to use in the last 20 years in the same way. So we are not intercepting the very first step. So that means the account, and that could be every kind of account, it doesn't matter, authenticate to the, let's say, your privileged system, to your domain controller, to your PKI, to whatever you consider as a tier 0 resource, for example, or tier 1, for instance, doesn't matter. And in the first step, if you can click, please, the ID is still taking over the first step. So the ID is checking your credentials, if you have the password, the permissions, everything is fine. But then we are coming in number 2, when the AD is kind of forwarding us every authentication. So we know everything what a domain controller also knows. So which account, from which source to which destination, and which protocol the user is using, for example. And then based on that information, we can put our controls in it. So we're here already different to a PAM. In PAM, you need to onboard the application. You're sitting in front of the application, and each application needs to be configured, or you need an integration to that. For password rotation, you need to change password, everything. We are not handling any passwords here. That's pretty important. We don't rotate any passwords. We are checking on the authentication layer if someone is allowed to access that resource. That could be really like a firewall approach. So like a yes or no decision. So we can make policies saying, no, you're our tier 0 account, but you want to access a tier 1 resource, for example, an application server. We just say you just don't get a Kerberos ticket. So we don't need to make a vault in front of that. We just say, no, we have a policy in real-time enforcement. You are not allowed to access that resource, even if you are a domain admin. And of course, a domain admin would have the permissions to do it, kind of technically. But we are stating, we block you because you are the wrong account to the wrong server, for example. Or we can even enforce a jump host. So that's a similar context like a PAM proxy in between. We can say, or we can configure, if you use your tier 0 account to access your, let's say, a PKI server, the source must be always your PIW, or must be a proxy or a virtual PIW, doesn't matter. So we can tie your account to a dedicated source server or client, which then is kind of your PIW. And a PAM proxy is nothing else. It's the same concept, but we don't care about microsegmentation. We don't care about domain configurations. If we have a tiering concept, for example, everything we do is on the authentication layer. And that's a nice thing with us. We don't change anything in AD. We don't change anything in the infrastructure. We don't enhance your AD. We don't change attributes. We don't change anything. We are just every time in real time decide if that user is allowed to access that resource. Could be a yes or no, so like a firewall, but could also be a MFA. So if you look at DORA requirements, for example, for insurances and banks, they very often kind of misuse a PAM to make an MFA on their privileged applications and privileged accounts. I have a friend of mine who is IAM owner of an insurance, and he said, okay, if we would do that with CyberArk, it will take us around 3 years to fulfill that requirement. If we want to use it with a PAM, and for us, it will be maybe a week, maybe. So it's pretty simple, and I will later go quickly through a demo if we have time. I hope we have time to show you why it's that easy.
It's just an interception of every request of an identity at the end.
Exactly. So it's real-time monitoring and then real-time evaluation of policies, which we have to, and we are telling the ID basically we are allowed to establish a Kerberos ticket or not. So we are the gatekeeper each and every time someone authenticates. We also have a just-in-time concept. So people who are using Entra PIM with a just-in-time, we have the same concept on-prem. So we can disable AD accounts and enable them in real time, again, without any UI. There's nothing you need to log into and check out and activate your account. I won't to tell too much, because if you're interested in that, just reach out to us and I'll give you a demo later. But it's a really nice concept of just-in-time without, again, breaking the flow and without using a UI tool for something.
Of course, again, here locked, audited, so you can see which person had access to what at which time, or more privileges just in time.
Absolutely, because I mean, if people establish a PAM because they have a requirement for that, PAM always, or if you have PAM requirements, it says it must be, access must be traceable. So traceability is a big topic when customers want to implement a PAM. But there is one, let's say, thinking that customers always think I need session recording in order to fulfill the traceability, but that is not true, basically. If you can show which account accesses which server at which time and going from the server to another server, that's totally enough. So this traceability does not mean you need session recording. So that's something people, because they only know PAM, they think I need a PAM, I need a session recording to fulfill my PAM requirement, but that's simply not true. So here we state, okay, let's say we need to do MFA. We just can do MFA on every server. Let's say every tier 0 account needs to do MFA on every tier 0 server. That's for us one policy. It takes you 5 minutes. And once you set up the policy, you will never retouch it again. So let's assume you have a new tier 0 account, which is using the same AD group, basically, to get access to your infrastructure. Or you have a new tier 0 server, which is then part of the same structure. You never need to touch a policy again. So there is no maintenance. You don't need to onboard a new server, which you want to protect with MFA, for example. It just works out of the box after you set up the policy one time, which takes you a couple of minutes. So
it's not like onboarding these new credentials to the PAM.
Exactly. We never need to onboard new credentials, new server, new accounts. There's no need to do that with us. Exactly. And one big topic, because we always say visibility is a big part. Everything we see, we can send to your SIEM. For example, we can send to your EDR solution. So we have risk signals with a shared signal framework, for example. So we can risk can be imported to us, but we also can export risk to other EDRs to, let's say, have a more visibility from endpoint detections, for example, to have a more risk-based approach from other vendors.
Yeah, and this is a very important topic also for this area, because to know the assets and also the user and the criticality is very important if some alert happens, because then you can decide on how big is the blast radius, if some credentials are getting compromised. So very important information. And if you have these live and not in just CMDB, not
Exactly.
actual.
Yeah, it must be live in real time, and we need to react on it. So we can basically react on risk indicators. That means if we have an MFA bombing, for example, we can, let's say, automatically block the account without changing the account. So we don't rotate password, we don't disable the account. We just say that account doesn't get any Kerberos ticket anymore, in real time, because the account behaves strange, so we just want to block it. Or we ask for MFA for that account, which basically will block the account if it got compromised, and it's not me who's using my account. So it's a pretty slim solution with a lot of features, pretty mighty. And really, the one thing, we don't need to integrate anything. We don't have plugins which need to install on any application on the server. We don't have network proxies. You don't need to rebuild your infrastructure. We are just doing everything on the IDP level, deciding who is allowed to access what, and when, and why, and only with MFA, and whatever you can think about it. So we are still learning use cases from our customers, what they are doing with our solution, because it's so flexible that even we sometimes don't see all the use cases. So then we go to a customer and they say, here, I did that because we have that use case, and that's pretty nice feature. So yeah, we are still learning, and it's pretty flexible and pretty mighty, and
but
at the same time pretty light. Yeah.
But also some predefined stuff, predefined rules, some blueprints who people can use.
Absolutely. So we have policy templates with, let's say, the main use cases we think must be implemented initially. So yeah, we have templates who can just be used, and that we have a, let's say, base level of security. Absolutely. Yeah. So we learned a lot from PAM, so from customers who are using PAM. That a PAM, the problem is, you mentioned it, some vendors have a visibility module to get some insights in your environment, but that's not real time. It's always only a snapshot, and we do it continuously in real time, about all protocols, all applications, everything. So we show you in real time what you need to protect. You don't need, like the picture, you don't need to chase the people to onboard them. We show you what you need to protect. And then initially we say protection comes first. We need to protect high privileged users and applications immediately, and not wait until 2 years to scale them somewhere. That doesn't make sense. You must protect them now.
And with the solution, it's also possible to see the privileged access or the privileged accounts very fast, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's real time. So you see them immediately. And the good thing is, as we don't need to integrate any application or anything, so as we don't need plugins anywhere, it just works with every kind of application which is tied to the AD. It could be a legacy, so we are working with OT environments pretty heavily with very old systems and machines. As long as it's an AD-based authentication, it works with us out of the box without integrating anything, and that's what it makes so easy and so mighty. It's continuous improvement and visibility and risk stuff here.
Great, yeah. And don't forget to use the Q&A section. If you have some questions, just write it down and we try to answer it.
Yep. Okay, I think the next slide we should just skip. We look at time because I want to show a little bit. Yeah, so here we saw the picture before that you have your PAM, your 5 to 10% only for tier 0. And with us, you can still have it. So there's no need to remove your PAM again, because it will be also a very complicated task, I assume. So you can keep it for your really crown jewels if you want. Of course, we can help here. We can enhance your PAM for your tier 0, but we can also scale. That means you can protect your tier 0 and tier 2 if you want, also, which is with a PAM impossible. So it's up to the state where you as a customer are. If you say, I want to have my PAM, I want to have session recording for dedicated servers, okay, that's fine, but then keep it that small and that light that you only cover the one you need to cover, if you think so. But the rest you can do with us, or harden your PAM. If you have a big PAM already, we can harden your PAM and say, okay, like mentioned, if people have the admin password, you can go around your PAM proxy, and we can prevent that. We can enforce the usage of your PAM, that at least the money you spend on your PAM brings the value out of it.
And I think this is very, very important about Silverfort. It's super complementary. It's not being the new IDP. It's not being the you can just use it and I say enhance other stuff you have, like you enhance your SIEM, enhance your PAM solution. What you told now,
yeah, absolutely. And I think the next slide is showing that again. I like the picture. Use the right tool for the right things. With PAM, you can bring your compliance, your governance to your crown jewels if you want. But use a tool to scale and to make security or to bring security, because a PAM was never built for security. So right size your PAM if you want to keep it, and then we help you to make the most out of the money. And without a PAM, maybe even better, you don't need to spend a lot of money and you don't need to rebuild your infrastructure just to fit in your PAM, because you always change you in order to fit to the PAM, and we fit to your environment. That's the difference. Maybe
definitely.
I would say, if you don't have anything here, maybe I just go to a quick demo.
That would be great. Yes, some hands-on or some look and feel is always great. Yeah. So I stop my presentation now.
Yeah. So maybe let's see if people are still awake, and if we maybe get one or two questions. I cannot show everything today because we are an identity security platform. That means we have a lot of modules, a lot of different stuff, also which is maybe not that PAM related. So I won't go through everything. I want to cover two things. One are the policies. So how can you configure, let's say, an MFA on a dedicated server, or a deny for certain persons, and what you can use in order to configure that. Because I think, as mentioned, the way we are doing it is pretty unique and pretty great. So we have different kind of policies, and you see already we have allow and deny policies besides, let's say, MFA. And you can really think about it like a firewall, but on the identity level. So always have in mind, we are working with authentications, with Kerberos tickets, with NTLM requests, with LLAB requests. So what we can configure here is allow and deny rules, where, for example, if you already have a PAM, for example, we could say we enforce the usage of your PSM, so your PAM proxy. That was the example I gave before. So in case you have your PAM, we say that user must always come through the PAM proxy, and the credential cannot be used from any other server, from no client, from no nothing. So you really enforce the usage of your PAM in order to have session recording if you really want to use it. But even without a PAM, we can enforce any kind of jump host. We can say, if your tier 0 account is coming from a client, no matter where it wants to connect to or to authenticate to, if the source is the client, it's getting denied, always. So you cannot use any admin on your client to not have the hash on the password on the client, which then can be extracted by a code from an attacker, for example. If you have a phishing email and click on the mail, attacker could get access to the data, and with our policy, it's just impossible. So we can steer the route how accounts need to go to access these privileged servers. And then on top, we can say, okay, and if you are coming from the right source, everything is good, but then you need to do MFA. And that could be everything. So I just used the shared folder example because we can also put MFA on any shared folder, doesn't matter, because the shared folder in the backend creates a Kerberos request, which we can see and which we can put a security control on it, right? And it's always for us the same. We are working with AD structure. That means for the scope of that policy, we just say every account who is in a dedicated group or in a dedicated OU, or accounts itself, also possible, are part of that group. So you don't need to onboard something in an application like a PAM. We just use what you have easily without onboarding and say these people, when they want to access certain destinations, and now again, it's AD structure. So groups, OUs, server objects. So if these people want to access these servers, they need to do MFA. And I mentioned before that you don't need to onboard new applications or new servers. We are doing AD things, of course, regularly. And by just living in the same OU as the other servers, servers are automatically protected. You don't need to install anything on the server. You don't need to change the policy on our end. Just by living in the same OU, the server is automatically protected by just being there. So if you have one-stop policy, there's no maintenance, no onboarding, no anything here. And the same for the users. If you have a new admin, just put him in the group, and he is automatically needs to do MFA. Full stop. Very simple, very lightweight, and it's the same for all allow and deny policies. So policy always looks the same. We just decide in the end what shall happen with these authentications. If these users access that server, what shall happen? You can also just have a notify. For example, you have a break glass account, which you don't want to put MFA on. We can send an alert to your SIEM telling you, hey, listen, your break glass account is used. Maybe you want to have a look at it, why it's used. So many different use cases. And for the MFA, we want to use what you already have. So customers usually have an Entra ID, an hybrid AD with Entra, with the authenticator, or with FIDO tokens, or it doesn't matter. So we can utilize the token you have. If you have an Okta, nice, we can use Okta. If you have ping, also fine. If you have FIDO tokens without Entra, that's also fine. So we want to utilize the MFA token the employee already has, because we talked about acceptance. MFA is not accepted if you have 3 different MFA tokens for 3 different use cases. Then people need to know, okay, here I need token A, I have 2 apps on my phone, what the fuck? So we want to streamline the MFA, that you have one MFA and use it everywhere. So people don't even know if it's now an on-prem resource or cloud resource. It always looks the same. They know what they need to do, and everything is fine. And as mentioned, without onboarding, without anything. You can deny access, you can put MFA on it, doesn't matter, in a very simple and easy way. The second topic I want to show is our service accounts, because people normally like password rotation, but when they see the effort, they say, okay, no, we cannot do it. It's just too much work and things will break. So our approach here is also different to a PAM approach. We look, as we are, let's say real-time visibility, we look how accounts behave. So first, we want to find these service accounts. You cannot protect what you don't know. So we want to know all accounts which behave like a service account. So there's a pattern behind, let's say, every day at 9 a.m. they access a dedicated server. That's kind of a service account behavior, even if technically it would be a a human account, could be an admin who uses his account in a SQL script, right? Customers always say, no, we don't have these kind of users, but in every POC you will find at least one who is has a kind of repetitive behavior. So first, we show you, again, what you need to protect. We show you, not the PAM is asking for. In the second step, we show you why we think it's predictable, because we show you the activity. So that means we show you the source and the destinations and the protocols which are used by that specific account. And now you can decide, okay, that is kind of repetitive behavior. The amount is pretty high. But what about that one? You see, maybe that account is used as an interactive login by an admin because the admin has the permissions to do that. So you are losing visibility who is doing what because it's behind the servers. You can decide if you want to rotate the password of that specific account. That's fine because now you know where it's used from. So maybe there are scripts executed to run something. So now you could potentially rotate the password if you want, but a more lightweight approach would be again to use our firewall approach, which is called virtual fencing here, to limit the account only to the source server or servers and source destinations and protocols. So we could disable NTLM for just that one account to say, okay, this account only is allowed to connect to that one server. And of course, if an attacker compromises that account, he can access that one server. But what he cannot do is he cannot do lateral movement. He cannot spread ransomware because it's kind of a dead end for him. And let's assume we have that policy. An attacker is trying to access via script different sources or different destinations. We can send alerts to your SIEM that your SOC guys are knowing, oh, there is something happening with that specific account. Maybe we need to have a look. So what is happening? But the good thing is you have time because the account is locked. Yeah? So you're getting an alert even before the attacker is thinking about you're getting an alert, because maybe the attacker thinks the account doesn't have permissions to go to another server, and the server is just, the script is just running against the wall, but you get an information immediately because the account behaves different without changing anything in your ID. You don't need to rotate anything. It's just stop lateral movement, stop ransomware, in an easy way, get alerted when the account tries to get out of his virtual fence. Of course, now big customers are telling us, I mean, how can I manually go through 385 accounts? That doesn't make sense. So of course, we have a smart way of doing that by looking at the behavior. So we are creating a profile for every account and look how stable these accounts are. And this baseline we use to automatically create these policies I just showed you. So we can say every account which is stable since a year or since 90 days, doesn't matter, we are freezing the account to what he used since then. So the activity that is frozen, but everything which is new will be blocked automatically. So by doing that, you can, I think, protect 95% of your service accounts because they behave predictable. So the baseline is stable, everything is fine. And the last 5%, we show you the risk, for example, which is tied to that service account. Or you can use the number of authentications to say, okay, that is so busy, we should protect it. So we give you data and risk indicators to then manually look at the last 5 or 10%, maybe, to also protect them. And again, it's up to you if you want to combine it with a PAM. Now you get the information where to rotate anything because there is a script. Or you say, I don't need rotation anymore because I just use the firewall, the fencing capabilities of the solution. The last thing, a very quick thing I want to look into is our pass module. So let's assume you have a tiering concept and maybe you have a PAM you can configure on our side which resources you consider as a tier 0 resource and which resources are a tier 1 resource. And again, visibility, we monitor every authentication to these servers, to these applications you have configured here. And then we show you if there's maybe a hole in your tiering concept, or again, if people go around your PAM, because we show then if these accounts have cross-tier authentications. That means maybe a tier 0 account can access a tier 1 server or vice versa. So we can show you if your tiering, if your PAM is stable or if it holds. So I always say we can audit your tiering concept, kind of. And we exactly show you what was the source, what was the destination which broke the tiering. We show you since when it's possible. Maybe you had a change request and that opened something. It broke something in your tiering concept. So we show you, okay, since then people can do that. What happened at that time? Or when was it last seen? Maybe you fixed it already and then you see, okay, it's not possible anymore. So again, visibility. You see the state of your PAM, of your tiering. And I think you thought it already. Of course, we can use our tiering concept again, or our firewall again, to establish a tiering concept. So let's assume you don't have a tiering. You can really say on an account level, that account needs to come from a dedicated source, could be a PAW, could be a jump host, and is only allowed to go to certain destinations. And that can again be a group or you or anything, any combination of that. So you can set up your tiering with that capability. And together with a just-in-time policy I just mentioned before, so people who are using Entra-PIM know that. So we can disable your AD account and then use the authentication as a trigger to ask for a second factor. And if the second factor got fulfilled, we enable the account in real time in the background. Again, no request, no PAM UI, no change of your workflow, no nothing. And by doing that, if the account got activated, it's got disabled again after 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, as you wish. And any auditor says, oh, nice, you don't have any standing privileges, you don't have any active domain admins, that's great, so you don't need security controls on that. So pretty mighty feature without any complex configuration or rebuild of your infrastructure. I think that was it in a very quick demo today, just to show you guys how it looks. It's different to a PAM, but it's way more scalable. So yeah, I hope it was interesting for everybody.
Absolutely great, Mike. Thank you very much for your support on this great demo. I mean, it gives so much opportunities, and for also a thank to everyone attending. And I hope it was helpful. And of course, reach out to us for further information, or also if you want to have or want to do a POC, for example. Absolutely great solution. I think it can compare a lot of other ones. It's not just a replacement. It's also just an enhancement of what you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, Patrick, for giving me the opportunity to show what we have here. I think it's a game changer if people understand how simple and how mighty it is. So yeah, if there are still questions after the meeting, just let us know. If you want to have a more extended demo or see the other great stuff we can do here, just reach out and we can organize something.
Now have a good lunch and bye to all.
Good rest of the week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.